Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Genuinely Interested podcast. My name is Roy Bensby, and I'm your host. And this week we have Chad Sarno, who is co-founder of Wicked Healthy and also the co-founder of The Good Catch, which I personally bought a few weeks ago, and it was delicious. I put it in my salad, and it was absolutely delicious. And essentially what The Good Catch is it's an alternative to seafood. It tastes the same. It is just as delicious, just as nutritious, but it's not made from fish. It's made from plants, which is a theme throughout this show. People who are driving change, like Chad and like a few other guests I've had on. So, guys, you should go out and try it. I think he said there's a new line of frozen products that are coming out soon, and definitely be sure to check those out. I'll also put a link in the show notes so you can easily go to their website, to their channels, and just try all the great recipes they have and buy the great food that they offer. Chad was also the global R&D chef at Wholefoods. Him and his brother have a cookbook together, Wicked Healthy, and he's been on many different talk shows, cooking up plants, making it look delicious and nutritious. And so the accolades speak for themselves. He's been around for a while, driving change. And, I appreciate people like him. I had a great time on the podcast talking to him. One thing I wish we could have got into it a little bit more was mushrooms. I personally love mushrooms. And the more I'm experimenting with them, the more flavor I seem to find. And they have this unbelievable method where you press the mushrooms and there's just so much flavor that comes out of it when you do it in that way. And then when you add the salt, the pepper, herbs, spices, it's just unbelievable how good it is. If you don't believe me, check out their channel, see how they do it. You can try it for yourself. It's a complete game changer. So that's something I would have wanted to touch on a little bit more, but we were short for time, unfortunately. We did say that we might do it again in the future, and I'll definitely try to make that happen, get all the updates on the Good Catch and all the stuff that they're doing. It's hard enough running one company, but when you're running multiple companies and YouTube channels and creating content and coming up with new stuff, it's time consuming. And having two kids, I'm assuming I personally don't have kids, but I hear they're a handful. So good for Chad for, keeping up with all this. All these are passion projects for them, for him and his brother. So I'm sure they'll keep doing it and keep improving and keep coming up with more amazing products until hopefully we can either substantially reduce the consumption of seafood or eliminate it altogether. I know that's a lofty goal, but we got to have big goals, right? Otherwise, what's the point? So again, for this podcast, guys, subscribe, rate, review. I try to be as consistent as possible, putting out an episode to 2 episodes each week. And yeah, we're seeing the podcast grow gradually and organically. I haven't really put any time, effort, or money into marketing this. So if you can share it with your friends, that's awesome. If you feel like this really gives you some added benefit listening to these amazing people talk about different topics, I really appreciate it. And yeah, here is this week's guest, Chad Sarno.
The Genuinely Interested Podcast.
Hey, Chad, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. I follow your channel and I salivate at each and every video.
Yeah, on YouTube, we've been really pumping out a lot of content over the past, I'd say, year and a half. So
yeah, man, I've actually been I've been trying your methods. I always feel like I'm never on par with the videos. It never comes out as nice or like you guys, the people who have these cooking shows, everything's always very like laid out beautifully in the amounts and everything. And then you have the expertise, obviously. And then when I do it, it's like not quite, but it's 50%, I would say.
But the inspiration is there, right? So that's the most important.
It's almost like I can smell it through the screen sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that looks good.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you saw that brisket one that we did, a seitan brisket, and that was pretty dope in terms of the smells that were coming off of that with the barbecue sauce and thrown on the grill, and so good.
I've been saying it for years. Like someone needs to figure out an app or some technology that can
Smell-o-vision.
Smell through a screen, man. That'll be a game changer.
Exactly.
Yeah. Completely different experience. So yeah, maybe tell us a little bit, about yourself, your background. How did you get into cooking, and how long you've been doing it?
Yeah, well, it's definitely a big long story. I'll kind of try to shorten it a little bit. But my background is I've been a plant-based chef for 20 plus years. I got really made that connection between food and health through my own personal journey. I had really bad asthma growing up, so I stopped eating dairy products at a young age, and that was directly linked to my asthma. And so that opened my eyes between the connection of health and food, and the foods that we consume. So that really sparked my interest more than anything. And I think anybody that's going to live through any kind of health issues or get pushed up against a wall like that, it really just drives that passion a lot for them. So that was my interest. That's what sparked the initial passion. And then I started digging deeper and got into animal rights at a young age. And, I've been an activist my whole life. And there was just there was that connection of, I was raised with the standard American diet. I wasn't raised with too much awareness around food besides, eating some garden veggies every now and then. But that connection between health and then looking at, the more I looked into it and the deeper I got, it just ethically didn't seem right to me that we were consuming animals and animal products and, exploiting along the way. And so that I really dove into my activism side for a number of years, got into raw food for many years after that. And then, kind of teaching myself along the way, also worked with a number of great chefs and teachers along the way, started open restaurants at a young age. And because it was such a niche area, I was opening restaurants and consulting. So people would hire me restaurateurs would hire me to come into their existing restaurant and help them add vegan items or, healthier items on their menu that were plant-based at the time. And then, or people that had that sort of spark of inspiration around plant-based wanted to open a restaurant, and I would help them open the restaurant and, move forward after that, let them operate it. So it was, I did that for a number of years, found myself over in Europe. I opened up a number of restaurants over in Europe, and Turkey, Germany, London, and Serbia had a few restaurants over there. And then came back to the States, joined, this was fast forwarding probably 10 years from when I started plant-based. Came back to the States. I was over in Europe for about 5 years. Came back to the States and joined Wholefoods Market as the global coordinator of health and wellness, and basically led their scientific medical advisory board and helped leadership team implement the 7th core value, which was all about healthy eating. And we started this program called Health Starts Here with the leadership over there. And so started working on that and worked with a number of great doctors, implemented some really great corporate wellness programs. So really jumped from restaurants and R&D to personal chefing. I was personal chef also during that time of restaurants. And then I got into corporate wellness. So it was a big jump, and definitely a lot of unknowns there when I jumped in. But really forced myself to understand a little bit more broadly around healthy eating and how to cook with less oils, how to cook with less sodium, less sugar, all those kind of added things. And so we were ended up. My brother Derek came on around that time to Wholefoods. By that time, I had transitioned from the global health coordinator to R&D chef for the health eating program, and so I did a lot of the trainings with the stores and with the regions and public facing recipes and website recipes. Derek came on, my brother, and he he came on as basically the global exec chef, and so he worked with prepared foods. I worked with the front of the house. So we would go and do trainings together in the regions. People couldn't stand us because here we are, two new people who with the company that were hired during a hiring freeze, trying to implement a program that was a new program. So driven by leadership. So we would go to the regions, and it was like, oh shit, the Sarno boys are coming. But anyways, it was a lot of fun for many years. Got some great relationships out of that and great experience. And so I was there for about 4.5 years. Derek stayed on for about a year after I left. I left. I did all the media. I was a media spokesperson for the company as well for all of the healthy eating programs and initiatives that they launched. Left Wholefoods Market, joined an online culinary school called Ruby, and helped launch their plant-based certification programs. It's a 6-month course online. Also, with my experience with the healthy eating program, it was along the lines with the same dietary plan as Forks Over Knives. So also launched the online Forks Over Knives course, cooking course for them during that time on the Ruby platform. And sort of backpedaling, when Derek and I were at Wholefoods Market, we started this idea around Wicked Healthy, and we started a blog, and it was really the product of working with a number of doctors at Wholefoods Market that were very strict. I mean, very no oil diet, no low sodium kind of thing, and working with that diet to implement it to customers and to other team members at the company. And we were finding our own challenges with that, because at the end of the day, people eat with their eyes. They judge a diet by how it tastes. Basically, if a diet tastes like shit, then they're not gonna be able to sustain it. So we were working with a lot of public facing folks with team members and customers. And their feedback was, it's got to taste better, and how can we make this taste better? And so we started a blog called Wicked Healthy that was basically 80% healthy, 20% wicked is our philosophy. And, that there is leeway if you're not in a dire situation with your health, there's leeway to, create that balance for yourself. And that 80-20 rule sort of worked for us and our focus. So that was the blog at the time. So fast forward, I'm working at a culinary school, online culinary school, implemented the programs. Derek, was still at Wholefoods. And then around the time that I was leaving Ruby, I was there for a couple of years. So I guess Derek was at Wholefoods probably 2 years longer than I was. We were still working on Wicked Healthy and pumping out videos and doing a lot of content. We started writing a book, the Wicked Healthy Cookbook at the time. And then at the time we knew that we wanted to do more. This is right around the time of my son being born. He's 3 now, almost 4. So we basically knew that we wanted to do more. And so during that time, Tesco had reached out to Derek, which is the third largest retailer globally. And they reached out of the UK, and they asked to, that they were very interested in the Wicked Healthy brand. So, discussions started progressing. And at that time that Derek was having discussions with Tesco, we were also seeding the idea around a plant-based seafood company called Good Catch, which is now where I reside mostly. And so these things were happening simultaneously. So Tesco was reaching out to Derek. I was starting to talk to a number of investors around this concept here in the States. And our goal with it was, he left Wholefoods and I was starting to, venture out of Ruby. As we just wanted to work on more impact projects. We felt our work, we're both activists at heart, and, I've been an activist for many years, as I mentioned, and just wanted to work on a project that had a greater impact with my mission through culinary, of course. And so these opportunities came at the same time and at the perfect time. And so we continued discussions around with Tesco. Derek ended up moving to the UK and launching the Wicked Kitchen range. Wicked Kitchen is it's Wicked Healthy is our company. Wicked Kitchen is the range over in Tesco. And so Derek went on as the global chef of plant-based innovation over at Tesco, and to also launch the Wicked Kitchen range. So So now we have Wicked Kitchen. We have the launch of Good Catch. So fast forward now, it's 4 years almost. We have launched, so we have 73 products with Wicked Kitchen in Tesco and over 1,600 stores. We jumped from 2 to 8 different categories. We jumped from 20 to 73 products in 2.5 years. And we've done about a little over 55 million in sales with company dollars in sales. The company, Tesco, has done that in sales for the Wicked Kitchen line, which is incredible. So, and on the Good Catch side, we have we just closed our Series B at 36 million last year. And we just opened up our plant in Ohio, in Heath, Ohio, that we're just starting to produce our own product. And it's basically plant-based seafood is the main focus. That's what Good Catch is all about, seafood without sacrifice. And so we've created a product that emulates the same experience that people would have with fine seafood, without the all the the bycatch and the overfishing and the mercury and all of that not included. So we open up our plant. It's just opened its doors. We just shipped out our first pallet about 2 weeks ago, which is incredible, of our frozen product. We've been on the shelf for about 1.5 years. We have 3 products. We have tuna and water, tuna and oil, and a Mediterranean. They're shelf-stable, plant-based tunas, which I'll grab a packet. No, this isn't on video, but I can grab a packet and show you so you see them.
Oh, no, I had all 3 of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. We launched those really to just to get some shelf space, really, and to build the brand. Our real heroes are our frozen line that's just launching this month, which is really, really exciting. So we have a fish burger, we have crab cake, and we have a Thai fish cake, and those are going to be in the frozen seafood area. And those are basically launching at the end of this month on the East Coast. So you'll be one of the first ones to try them, I'm sure, in your hood. So by the end of this month, so check out I can pass you on a list of stores where they're going to be at. And then by the end of the summer, they should be pretty much national rollout. So yeah, that's it's been very exciting. And we've during this time with Good Catch, we have partnered up with some incredible strategic investors and also partnerships. We've partnered up with Bumblebee as our distribution partner, and they're in most households in America. They've been a legacy sort of anchor brand for many, many years. They've gone through a number of challenges over the years, but coming to the surface and really focused on sustainability. And part of their program is that they've partnered up with Good Catch, and they're an more ocean focused food rather than just fish. So, which is amazing. So, and we can say that we have that ocean focus because we use algae, seaweed, and algae extracts in our product still. So, our product is a proprietary blend of 6 different legumes. So it's not just pea protein. It's not just soy. It's, includes pea, includes soy, but also chickpea, navy bean, fava bean, and lentil. So that's the 6 different legumes. And we've been able to create it to sort of mimic the texture and flakiness of a flaked fish product. So when we launch our food service product, it'll be a seasoned flake product, which you can use in cooking applications, and it hydrates and it's incredible, just like a cooked white fish. And same thing with we use the same protein in our frozen products, which is the fish burger, as I mentioned, the crab cake and the Thai cake. So that brings us to today, and it's been a busy few years, that's for sure. And when we started this Good Catch and Wicked Kitchen, I had mentioned I had a little boy, and then this past January I had my other little boy join us.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. And we have a full crew here. So, but yeah, it's been very exciting, and probably the most exciting part of all of it is the impact, and that's what drives us, and that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what keeps me going every day. Is not so much the amount of people that we're feeding, because I think that that's fantastic, just to provide nurturing food, but nourishing food, but the impact that we're having on the planet in terms of these product lines. And if you look at over 15 million units sold within Wicked Kitchen, that's 15 million meals that didn't include animal products, which is very exciting. And it's same thing with our with Good Catch. I mean, if we for every pound of product that we create is a pound of fish not consumed, and that's what's really exciting for us. So it's an honor to work with so many great people and great teams. So
it's even more. It's another 5 pounds of bycatch that's not getting caught. So
isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
it's crazy the waste that's in the seafood industry. I mean, it really is. I mean, the commercial fishing industry it's very destructive, And recently there was just off your coast. There was just the sanctuary was just lifted off the coast of New England, which is one of the largest sanctuaries in the Atlantic. That's been protected for many, many years, and our wonderful administration just lifted it so commercial fishing can be.
Oh yeah, they also lifted a ban. What was this? I saw on bear cubs, if I'm not mistaken.
So you didn't. So all right, we're not going to get too political here.
No.
But I'm gonna. No, but if. It's bad enough, all of the appalling things that are happening with this administration, in my personal opinion, but to lifting a ban on killing baby animals, like that's like darkest of dark. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't stoop any lower than that. I mean, first it's
don't give them any challenges.
Right? I take that back. I mean, separating families and putting them in cages and then, killing bear cubs and animal cubs up in Alaska, that ban. And then also the other one that just got lifted was the migratory path of birds, where billions of birds will now be, killed over the coming years. And, all birds have this migratory path. And it's always been a law that you couldn't build certain factories and size factories on that migratory path. And that policy just changed. So that just got lifted. So,
well, even when they were talking about building the wall, that like a lot of animals migrate between that border of all the southern states and Mexico, and that they just use that as so if you were to essentially build that wall, you would essentially be killing all those animals because they could migrate south and north.
It's crazy. Crazy.
And
anyways, yeah. So it's it's a interesting time that we all need to vote. Is all I gotta say. So
yeah, I'm with you. But I wanna just, because there's a lot to unpack with everything you said. Let me see. So basically, let's go back a little bit. You went to Europe prior to what year was this actually? Like
I was in Europe. Yeah, I was in Europe. I moved over there in 2005 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, 2005 to 2009. I moved.
It wasn't really a plant-based scene at the time, right?
No, there wasn't. Certainly wasn't. We opened the first vegan restaurant in London, which was amazing. Called SAF, SAF, and that was the first one. I mean, there was a vegan deli or two, but it was the first like proper course menu vegan restaurant that we opened up there. And that was. I mean, it was ahead of it. It was ahead of its time, and it was certainly, we were slamming packed, and it was jamming. We had a couple week wait for reservations, and and it was just it was pretty incredible. One, because it was a very niche thing, and it was high raw too, so it was like probably 50 to 75% raw menu, and that was the focus of most of the restaurants. And Istanbul, it was the first vegan restaurant that was open in Istanbul, and then in Munich we had I think it may have been one of the first in Munich as well. So we were in Marienplatz, which I don't know if you know Munich, but beautiful part of the city.
Yeah.
Right near, it was right around the corner from the Hofbrauhaus. So we opened up there. We opened up London, and we had Turkey going. And so there was 6 restaurants. We opened up 6 restaurants in 3 countries in 3 years, and it was just absolute insanity because they were all jamming. They were all packed. And to be honest, I look back now and I'm like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was trying my best, and I did it. Now, they were successful for how long they lasted. And then I ended up leaving that company and walked away and came over back to the States. It was kind of my passport come back from to join Wholefoods Market. And within probably 2 years, all the restaurants had closed. So
wow.
Over in Europe. So, but yeah, everything. Yeah, exactly. So.
And then when you joined, I mean, that takes a lot of balls going over to Europe and Turkey and Germany, all these countries, and starting something that doesn't really exist. It's not like you're going and open on a shawarma stand. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Different to start something that doesn't exist in a foreign country. That takes some balls. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, we had some great investors behind us, and operational partners in each country that certainly knew the area. So I was quite blinded going in, but had some good support.
That's awesome. And then when you reached Whole Foods, I mean, you didn't mention this, but you essentially wrote or co-wrote the cookbook that Whole Foods put out, and you worked with John Mackey, who was one of the founders of Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm.
How did that relationship start?
Yeah, so he was the one that actually hired us on. Well, he hired me on to help him initiate this the new core value. They're built on core values, and so the seventh core value was around healthy eating education. So he wanted to develop a team and programs under healthy eating education. So he wanted to do a number of programs internally with the company and sort of, create these ambassadors of healthy eating internally with the company for the first year to 2 years before rolling it out to the public. And so we did that. We launched a number of programs. One of them was the immersion programs, which is still quite successsul. Well, in the COVID world, it's kind of put to a halt, but pre-COVID, it was doing really well. They're still doing them every year. And so it was basically partnered up with 4 different physicians and launching 4 different nutrition programs offered to team members. So you would have to apply, and you would qualify based on certain health biometrics. And health screening was free for every team member at Whole Foods. And based on your health screening, you would get a level of discount higher. So based on your total cholesterol, your blood pressure, your BMI, and based on those, they hit certain thresholds so that you could get a higher discount card. So everybody gets 20% off, and you could get up to 30% based on your health, which is amazing. So, and if you didn't qualify, there was an opportunity to go to one of these health immersion programs that the company fully paid for. So, and there were 4 different doctors. One of them was McDougall. The other one was Esselstyn, and Rip also mentioned too. The other one was Dr. Furman, and the other one was Dr. Stoll. And so there are 4 different parts of the country, and Whole Foods would pay for team members to fly in and go to these week-long programs. And I helped coordinate all those programs and sort of launch that initial immersion concept within Whole Foods, and then I continued to support them with all the menus and culinary education at those programs. So team members would come back, and they would be inspired around this certain philosophy around healthy eating, and then we would have a number of programs in store and options within store that they could sustain it. So it was interesting. It was definitely there's some things that should have probably shifted a little bit, but for what it was pretty exciting, and it definitely, I think, instilled a lot of health and wellness ambassadors within the company. We launched I would say the most successful part, aside from I think changing thousands of lives with the immersion programs. I think the best part was within prepared foods before that time, you couldn't go to the salad bar and get just plain beans or plain grains or anything like that. It was just a salad bar, so just launching just those simple additions company wide, that you can go and just get a bowl of brown rice, and then have it with your salad and, plain tofu or plain beans or whatever, and then dress it up however you want. And then there was always a condiment bar at the end of the bar. And that's fairly new, all of that. So, so that's still around today. And same thing with the hundreds of recipes that we did at the time. So,
yeah, essentially, initially when I saw Wicked Healthy, I thought it was a British company, because Wicked, it's either Canadians or maybe people in like Massachusetts, but the rest of the country doesn't really use Wicked. So that's what I thought initially. How did you guys come up with the name?
Yeah, well, we're both from New Hampshire, so
okay.
we grew up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, outside of Portsmouth, Hampton, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So yeah, wicked is just a slang term, as you know, being from New England. So, and that's why I feel Tesco resonated with the brand a lot, because it's definitely over in England, also used in the same way. So yeah, it's just amazing how it works over in London just as well as it does in New England. But we have to explain it to folks. We had to explain it that it doesn't mean bad. It's just emphasizing healthy.
Oh, so. Wicked is great. I don't know why I didn't catch on the rest of the country, but I love.
Yeah. So it's it's a great descriptor.
So let's talk a little bit about Good Catch.
Yeah.
When did you guys, or like maybe not when, but how long did it take you to formulate the recipe for Good Catch?
Yeah, so I would say that we were working on the product for a good 2.5 years, 2.5 to 3 years before we actually launched. So we were pretty lucky at first, as we had some good partnerships and worked on it for quite a while, with a number of extrusion experts and R&D companies that we worked with, and then we were very fortunate to bring on certain folks on the team. Well, our whole team is incredible, but in particular, Joel Gefeller. He's just an absolute rock star. He's prior to us grabbing him at Good Catch, he was the lead R&D over at Gardein. So he and his team developed all the products for Gardein. And when Gardein was acquired, they basically, the acquiring company basically got rid of the R&D team. Basically, he stayed on with them for a little while, and so when his contract was up, we grabbed him. So we're very fortunate to have him, and we've. Good Catch is basically set up. We have it's Gathered Foods. That's our company. That's a parent company. Good Catch is one of the brands under Gathered. We intend on launching other brands under Gathered. But also under Gathered Foods is Cultivated Food Labs, which is based out of Vancouver, and that's where Joel and his team sit. So we've kind of separated out our R&D team. And the reason for that is for them to really be tasked with creating a Rolodex of IP, so that we can create and either license out to other companies or investors or partnerships, or launch other brands. So we have a incredible team when it comes to R&D and food science, that we're so thrilled to have. And paired with the leadership team in general, it's and our factory, we're able to make some serious movements over the coming years, which is exciting. So.
Yeah, you mentioned that you raised the Series B. Is that with Bruce Friedrich's VC?
Yeah, so Kris Carr has been he's been with New Crop Capital for many years, and so he was he's one of my closest friends also. So we ended up starting the company as co-founders, and so New Crop was the seed money initially, New Crop Capital, yeah, so that fund was our seed money, and they're the ones who gathered all of our impact investors. So for Series A, we ended up raising was all focused on impact investors, so all activist investors, really. And then Series B, which we just closed, that's when we had a couple strategics. So we had 301, which is General Mills, come in. Series A, we did have PHW. PHW is based out of Germany. They're the largest poultry company out of Germany as a strategic. But in Series B, we had General Mills come in. We also had Greenleaf come in, which is very exciting. And SBI, which is out of Japan. They own House Foods. I don't know if you know House Foods, but House Foods has it's like the largest tofu company in the States that you can see.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they and they have a couple thousand restaurants, curry houses, and stuff like that over in Japan. But yeah, so they're a big investment firm over there and distribution company. So we have a couple of strategics, and so Series B being impact driven, then being Series A, and then Series B really focused on strategics, has been really, really great for the growth of the company. And we have quite a runway. And like I said, that it's been mostly to fund the building of our factory outside of Columbus, Ohio. And we're, as I mentioned, as of maybe 3 weeks ago, we turned it on, which is exciting. So.
That's amazing, man. I mean, we're seeing huge innovation right now with the plant-based sector. If it's the more popular ones like the Beyond or the Impossible or Oatly, or there's just so much innovation coming out. Milk from everything you can think of, and all these plant-based burgers that taste almost identical to the real thing. And I mean, this might be the best time to be vegan that it's ever been, right?
Without a doubt. I mean, the bar is set so high that you can't start a company and launch a hockey puck burger anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, back in the day, everything was in forms. You know what I mean? And so you got, bless those companies that started it and that were really the early ones, Boca and Gardenburger and, those kind of companies, and they were just informers, and they were just pressed and grains and beans and some isolates, proteins, and that's about it. And now it's just the bar is set so high for everything from ice cream to dairy to also cheeses that are coming out and that are on the market currently, and then meats. I mean, I would say that there's a lot of room for growth, but it is one of the largest, fastest growing markets, I would say, globally, is plant-based proteins. And so when we started Good Catch, we really saw white space, and that was the focus, is really seeing the white space and really looking at what category within that white space is going to have the greatest impact. And so we wanted to launch with fin fish, being tuna first, because it's the largest consumed globally. And I would say the most, tuna is not the largest consumed globally, but I would say it's the most destructive path when it comes to commercial fishing of tuna. So so we really set out to focus on fin fish, and so salmon will be next also in the pipeline. So, but it's been very exciting, and it's really we're a disruptor brand. That's our goal, is to really disrupt what people see as seafood, and with the support and partnership of Bumblebee. I mean, they've just given incredible validation. I mean, they're having their resources behind us, and being able to innovate with them and work with their resources in terms of distribution, and has been very exciting, a very exciting partnership to take it to the next level. So,
because you're seeing massive companies, meat companies like Tyson and other companies like, and they're even investing in the space. So, I mean, if they're investing in the space, they're not investing because of ethical reasons. They're straight bottom line, monetary. And if
which is amazing.
Yeah. So they're seeing the potential. And if they're seeing the potential, that means there's an uptick in consumer demand and consumer purchase of these products, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then you'll get some vegans that'll not be so psyched about these large corporations coming into plant-based, but it is the best thing for. Yeah, exactly, and it's the best thing to happen to plant-based on a global level, and to happen for the animals is in order to. And I've been saying this also for many years around it, and I've been in full support of these large companies, the Tysons, the PHWs, the Hormels, and Maple Leaf, all these guys coming in, which are the largest animal ag companies globally. And you have to make change from within. You can't sit there on the sidelines and stand up there with the picket, and picket them. It's you have to make change from within, and it's changing the culture of these companies as well, which is incredible. I mean, just from the partnership around Bumblebee, I mean, obviously there's some work still to be done there, but the leadership is so supportive of Good Catch and so excited about what we're doing. And it's the same thing with Maple Leaf. I mean, they started their company Greenleaf, which they purchased Light Life and Field Roast, over the past few years. And I know they're probably looking at a number of other acquisitions, and they've just created this culture of health and culture of awareness around plant-based, and it does add to their bottom line, but it also shifts the culture, when you start thinking differently around, the foods that we consume. So that's been the exciting part of working with these guys.
Yeah. I mean, you can only be an idealist for so long. If you want to create, you have to do it from inside.
That's it.
What do you think about, so I was thinking about this the other day. I feel like, there's this misconceptions about vegan food. And I think that all started maybe 20 years ago or whatever it was, right? When these type of brands like Boca and others came along, and they were just very cardboard-like, didn't have a lot of flavor. It wasn't very tasty. And like all vegans could eat was essentially French fries and salads and some tofu. But now, and there's that stereotypical skinny vegan hippie-ish, but now it's a completely different story, right? You have bodybuilders, you have athletes, you have every person from every walk of life being vegan and thriving on that diet. And the foods are completely different, but there's still that stereotype. There's still that misconception. I think that's going to take another few years till that wears off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it is going to take a little bit of time. It's definitely wearing off slowly, though, because at the end of the day, everybody has different levers that will be pulled for them to be interested in plant-based. You know what I mean? I mean, some people just like good tasting food. They don't give a shit whether it's plants or not plants. And that's the target. That flexitarian is the shopper that our target is with Good Catch. Because if you look at in the UK, 70% of shoppers are flexitarian. They're actively looking for plant-based alternatives,
Really?
which is incredible. 70%. Which is crazy. Wow. It's like 76 or 78%. So, but it's in the 70s, which is amazing. Whereas over here, it's around 40, but it's still a huge number. I mean, the shopper is actively looking for plant-based alternatives, and they want to diversify their protein, and that's at the end of the day, that's all it is the consumer wanting to diversify their protein sources. And that's what these large companies are listening to. They're listening to consumers, and they're driven by the bottom line, but they want to diversify their protein. So this is when Tyson came out, I think it was about 3 years ago, the CEO at the time, I don't know if it's the same CEO, came out and said, we are no longer a poultry company, we're a protein company, and Maple Leaf came out and said the same thing. We're a protein company. We're not a pork company, which is incredible, So I think that shopper is wanting to diversify their protein needs, and obviously these large corporations are wanting to meet that demand. So, but yeah, I think, everybody has different levers of why they are drawn to plant-based, and, whether it be, just, it's a shared stomach situation of, people wanting to diversify their protein. And so that's what companies are looking at, but also, from the health perspective, they want to cut back on the cholesterol. They want to, and the other side is animal welfare. The environment obviously is a huge lever. That's a big lever with seafood, is environmental concern.
Yeah.
Because I think it's pretty common knowledge around mercury now. So that's people speak of microplastics, but there's not enough evidence behind that. But people do speak of that currently. But obviously the overfishing and it's becoming common knowledge. So those environmental concerns are also driving consumer trends, but yeah, it's hopefully that misperception will shift quite quickly. And we're seeing that it is shifting quickly with the consumers. So
what are your feelings about lab grown meat, like a company like Memphis Meats?
See, I support it. Anything that's going to alleviate suffering, I 110% support. Will I consume it? Probably. I'll probably try it, but at the end of the day, I'm an ethical vegan. So, and I'm proud to call myself an ethical vegan because, I didn't stop eating meat because I don't like to taste meat. And I think that that's what most people think. I think, the smell of cooked flesh and all that, it's pretty gross, right? Obviously if you get some barbecue sauce and you throw it on a grill, that cooking of the sugars and all that, that's what you're smelling, and that smells good. But most people don't stop consuming animals because they don't like the taste of meat. This is why these meat replacements and sort of these plant-based proteins that are out there are so popular, because with vegans is people, stopped eating meat because they don't want to consume animals. There's no reason why we should be consuming animals, especially with the abundance of product on the market right now. There are so many alternatives, as you mentioned, and that mimic the entire the experience that people are used to with consuming animal products, and without that suffering added, and that those health concerns and health implications. So,
okay, yeah, let's talk a little bit about you and your brother, and then we'll move on to mushrooms, because I love mushrooms and you guys love mushrooms. So I want to talk about that. But you guys, essentially, you're both vegan chefs. You work together. And I mean, you're breaking one of the 10 crack commandments, is never mix family and business. So how does that work?
Yeah, it's been amazing, actually. Derek is an absolute badass. I think it's it took him a while for me to get him to, influence him. I was vegan for quite some time, and he's the first one to admit that I was just this hippie that he didn't want to listen to back in the day. So no, but it's been incredible. I mean, we both have different strengths, and we respect each other's work, and we both share the mission, and that's really important. I think that if you're going to start a business that is not impact focused and is not driven by mission, then I can see major complications happening with partnering with family. But if you're driven by something higher than yourself, with a goal that's way more than personal goals, I think that helps a lot. And so, he's an absolute beast when it comes to workload and in the kitchen. He's taken, I've been, focused 95% on Good Catch, with giving Derek some support with Wicked Kitchen, and he's been 95% on Wicked Kitchen, and vice versa, supporting me where I need it with Good Catch. So, and he's taken a product line and launched it in the largest retailer, and he's a badass, and so being able to work together and knowing that we have these two major projects, I think that keeps us both in check, and we're able to keep each other in check, because we are focused on the mission. It's not about us. It's not about us as individuals. It's about the impact that these projects have, and to constantly have that reminder, and having a brother do that, of just like, smack each other around when you need to. It helps, you know what I mean? But again, if it was just a regular business that we were running, I think it would be probably pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's one of those things I feel like most people can't pull it off. The family is always difficult, but when it does work, it's amazing. So it's good for you guys. So how are you for time? Are you okay? Or do you?
Yeah, I'm good. I got about 5 more minutes if that's cool. So
5. Okay. I'll try to wrap it up. So let's talk a little bit about mushrooms. You guys use mushrooms a lot as a meat substitute. And I'll be honest, out of all the meat substitutes that I see being used, I feel like mushrooms is the best.
Hands down. Couldn't agree more, man. It is the most sustainable. It's the most sustainable food in the world, in my opinion. So you can basically grow from spore to full mushroom in a few weeks, right? And you can't do that with anything, right? I mean, you look at a lot of these products, including Good Catch. I mean, it takes, a long time to produce an isolated protein, and it's, it has its place, certainly. But with mushrooms, you literally can grow a king oyster mushroom in 2 to 3 weeks, and that you can shred that as a pork, you can press it cut it up and sear it as a scallop. It's quite incredible. So, totally agree. We've been on the mushroom train for a while. Derek is the mushroom whisperer when it comes to a number of different techniques. So, you mentioned our YouTube channel. We have a ton of recipes up there, and a ton of techniques is what we've been pushing. And so also in the Wicked Healthy Cookbook, we have a bunch that we've highlighted in there as well.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll just have a couple last questions. But are there like specific mushrooms that replicate texture of meat better than other mushrooms? Because I used the king oyster a couple of times, and the portobello, and they both and well, I guess another question is, did you guys come up with that pressing technique? Because that's a game changer.
Yeah. We have. We actually tried patenting it, which is pretty difficult. But we started to go down that road, but then we came up with that, and then we published it in the Wicked Healthy Cookbook, and now it's being widely used, which is awesome to see. But it is a game changer, because you take maitake mushrooms, hen of the woods, right? You could take maitake, and you can basically just take the petals off. You can roast it, you can grill it, you can saute it, and that's great. It's a great tasting mushroom. Same thing with clustered oyster mushrooms. You can take them off, you can strip them, and they kind of peel apart. You can roast them at a high heat for a while, just to dry them out, and then add a sauce, and that's really delicious. But the pressing technique is a game changer, man. So taking these maitake mushrooms, maitake is one of my favorites, I'd say. Maitake and clustered oyster mushrooms. So you take those, you get a ripping hot pan, you place them on the pan with a little bit of oil, and you put another pan on top of it, and then you slowly press them. And as it starts pressing, it releases some water. You don't want to press it immediately, because otherwise it'll crack and it'll break. You want it to soften a little bit, and then you press it, and you press it firmer. You do that on both sides, and you create a really nice caramelization on both sides. You can season it as you're going. Make sure that what people miss sometimes is it releases a lot of water, and then people flip it and then they think they're done, even though there's a lot of water in the pan. You want that water to be evaporated and caramelized, and so the pan is pretty much dry when you're taking them off. And then from there, after they're seared, so it's the same thing with portobellos. I did the same thing with portobellos. We just launched this shawarma recipe on YouTube that does the same thing.
Yeah.
So you basically press these, and it releases a ton of water. It concentrates the flavor, and then you take them off. You can eat them as is, which is great. Chop them up, put them on whatever. But then you can slather them any kind of sauce, and then throw them on the grill or roast them with the sauce, and it is total game changer, like you said. So, and I think, going back to my favorite mushroom, I would say oyster clusters or maitake, because you get that sort of layering and that marbling of different, sort of proteins that you would if you're having like a steak or chicken or things like that. And so you can actually get that those long strands of proteins, and that and so when mushrooms are pressed, you're condensing those fibers, so you can actually slice it with a steak knife, and it's really, really nice. So I would say maitakes pressed, lathered with the barbecue sauce on the grill are my favorite go-to. So
yeah, guys, I'm not even exaggerating. If you go to their YouTube channel, you'll see how they do it, and I tried it. It's a complete game changer versus just having a mushroom grilled on the pan. I only put salt and pepper, and I pressed it like how you guys do on the thing, and it was just so flavorful.
So good, so much,
good.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you're pressing the water out, and that water is slightly bitter, and it's sort of that with portobellos, that the water content in portobellos is almost a little musty. So that's what people don't like about mushrooms. They taste that sort of mustiness, right? And so you're pressing it out and you're condensing the fibers, but you're also releasing all the liquid, and you're caramelizing that liquid, whatever sugars are in there, and it's just concentrating. It was really, really quite nice. So, and then also you can bread them, if you're doing like a chicken fried steak, or you're doing like a fried chicken, you can dredge them, bread them, fry them. And oh my gosh, that was so good. I believe there's a new one that just came out that we just posted on YouTube. That's a chicken fried steak. So that we just put up there the other day. So
I'll have to try that. All right, man. I know you got to go. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast. You're awesome. Your companies are awesome. Your channel's awesome. So keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
I appreciate you so much, man, for having me. And hopefully we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Where can people find you on the internet?
Instagram at Wicked Healthy, or on YouTube Wicked Healthy, or Facebook Wicked Healthy. Same thing with our website. Ton of resources, ton of blogs, ton of videos, all of our recipes up there at wickedhealthyfood.com.
Awesome. And I'll link everything in the show notes, so make it easy for people to find. Right. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, bro. Take care.